Okay, very good morning, everyone. Let's look into the another chapter we have started with in the international business environment, and we are dealing with the concept of outsourcing and the growth of international business in the international market or the modern market. Now, today in the next lecture, we'll be dealing with an understanding about the environmental issues in the international business. So now let's look at the various concerns that is related with the environmental concerns in while conducting the international business activities. Specifically, now firstly focusing on India, the rapid growing population and economic development is leading to a number of environmental issues in India because of the uncontrolled growth of urbanization. There are various environmental issues, and accordingly, our environment is getting impacted and affected day by day. All these particular issues are either of a controlled nature or of an uncontrolled nature, and the urbanization, industrialization, and globalization has started to increase day by day. And with this particular concern, we can see that the environment is also getting depleted and it is also getting impacted at a very massive level. The growth of agriculture, sometimes there is a positive growth, sometimes there is a negative growth in the state of agriculture. And due to this concern also, the destruction of the forest has been taken place. The land is also been reduced. The productivity of land is also getting depleted day by day. And with the use of various harmful pesticides, chemicals, and insecticides, the quality of land, the quality of soil is also getting degraded day by day. So in this way, the major environmental issues with respect of land, with respect of agriculture, we can see that it has developed since the concept of industrialization has came into picture. Various major environmental issues are forest and agriculture degradation of land, resources depletion like water, mineral, forest, sand, rock, and so on. So all the various resources that are of natural nature, which is in terms of the water, mineral, forest, and so on, they are also getting depleted day by day. Environmental degradation, that is with respect to the forest. So lot many forests have been deforestation is of a very larger scale, and many trees have been cut down for building the various buildings and developing the cities simultaneously. Public health is also at a very loss, wherein we can see that at every point of time, due to due to the condition of sanitation and so on and hygienic factors, the public health is also getting degraded day by day. Loss of biodiversity, loss of resilience of ecosystem, livelihood, security for the poor, and so on. So there are various different types of environmental issues in the Indian perspectives at this particular position. Majorly, it is estimated that the country's population will increase to 1.26 billion by the year 2016, which has already crossed 130 to 135 billion crores also. So the projected population indicates that people will be the first, that India, for example, India will be the first most populated country in the world, and China will be ranking in the year 2050 onwards. India, having 18% of the world's population on 2.4 of the world's total free area, has greatly increased the pressure on its natural resources. So simultaneously, we can see that the population of India is also getting increasing day by day, and by 2050, India will be at the first position. So with the limited amount of resources, limited amount of land, labor, capital, and all the resources or the factors that are into existence, there is always a burden, or there is always a certain position wherein India has to come forward and look at the various concepts or the preservation of these natural resources. Water shortage, soil exhaustion, erosion of soil, deforestation, air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution. There are several number of factors with respect to the environmental concerns that India needs to look forward, and accordingly, the international business policies are also needed to be framed. India's water and supply and sanitation issues are also related with the various environmental issues also. So why? Because the various industries that are coming into organization, or that they are coming into Indian economy, they always utilize and use our these particular resources of water and sanitation, and the wastage of this particular water is already directly dumped into our rivers also, which are a natural source of habitat for the water and sanitation purpose. So in this way, what happened? The environmental issues with respect to the rivers, oceans is also being created simultaneously. Now let's look at the various major environmental issues which India is facing at. The first thing is the forest and agricultural land degradation, the resources depletion, that is the resources of water, mineral, forest, sand, the pollution, the concern with the public health, the concern of the loss of biodiversity, poor water health and supply and sanitation issues, natural hazards like flood, annual rainfall due to deforestation. That is, the pattern of rainfall is also changing. We can see at every point of time there is no stable pattern of rainfall. Earlier the pattern was only from June to September, but now at any point of time the rainfall is there and there is no stability on the flow of rainfall also. And lastly, the poor agricultural practices. That is, what type of crop should be taken at what position, what should be the productivity, how much the productive or land is made available, and so on. So the agricultural practice is also very poor at every point of time. Another concern with respect to the major environmental issues are the civil conflicts which are involving the natural resources, the coal, forest, land for cultivation and decultivation, and so on. So the mining, coaling, the deforestation, extraction of coal, continuous extraction of soil erosion, and so on. So in this way, what happened? The forest land is also being degraded, and accordingly, we are also losing the forest of our nation. The increasing pollution have led to an increase in air pollution, shifting precipitation of patterns and declining intervals of the drought recurrences. So due to the increase in the air pollution, also various greenhouse effects, gases are being emitted into the open air, and accordingly, it has created a certain concern wherein the ozone has also been getting depleted, and we are having to face a certain concern with respect to the air pollution also. That is, our quality of air in different cities, for example, New Delhi, Pune, Mumbai, Calcutta, Madras, Hyderabad, at every point of time, the level and purity of air is different, and accordingly, the people or the government has to manage with respect to the pollution of air concerns also. In this way, with respect to the air pollution, we have the concern of water pollution, noise pollution, and so on. So all the polluting factors we have to take into consideration. Accordingly, the international business policies are needed to be framed. Unequal distribution of resources. At every point of time, we can see that the resources that have been available in the Indian economy are it is unequally distributed, wherein at certain point of time we can see a resource found in an abundant stage, but at some other position the resource is not available. For example, take as a conservation of water. Now, water is a particular concern wherein in some parts of Maharashtra the water is available in an ample stage, but in some parts of Maharashtra, such as Marathwada, the water is not available. In some part of Maharashtra, the water is available, whereas in some parts of Rajasthan, the water is not at all available. In some parts of Uttarakhand or Uttaranchal, the water is quietly available, but in some parts of Uttar Pradesh or Madhya Pradesh, the water is not available. So in this way, there is no equal distribution of the resources also. And it is a major issue at this particular point of time. Now, specifically focusing on the concern of water pollution. There is no proper sanitation in India, which is one of the major concerns which is India is facing as on today. So with this particular concern, we can see that there is, due to lack of sanitation policy, due to lack of sanitation factors or the facility that is being provided by the government, the goods and services are not available, and accordingly, the problem of sanitation, which wherein the direct waste is being dumped into the rivers and the rivers are getting polluted day by day. The statistics conducted or the research conducted by the UNICEF have shown that only 31% of the India's population is using improved sanitation facilities as of 2008 and 2010. So in this way, we can see very less amount of population is using the sanitation facilities or the position, and accordingly, rest all population is not conducting or using the proper sanitation accordingly. It is estimated that one in every 10 deaths in India is linked to the poor sanitation and hygiene, that is with respect to the water pollution. So at least 1 out of the 10 deaths that have been conducted in India it is directly impacted or related with the sanitation or the water problems that is associated. Diarrhea is the single largest killer and accounts for 1 in every 20 deaths. So another major reason with respect to the water pollution is the concern of diarrhea, wherein it has been observed that people are getting affected and people are losing their lives in terms of these particular types of diseases also. The high level of contamination of the river by human waste allows diseases like cholera to spread easily and resulting in many deaths, especially among children who are more susceptible to such viruses. So almost at every point of time, the children, the adults, the women, the people at a large, everyone is getting affected with respect to the water pollution, river pollution of diarrhea, cholera, various epidemic and pandemic diseases, and so on. Now, the concern of deforestation, that is the population explosion, that is the increase in the number of population, the requirement of houses, the requirement of factories, the cutting of trees for agriculture, factories, road and rail tracks, industries, mining and quarrying have seriously affected the forest, and we can see that since the year 1990, 80s, 90s, and 2000 onwards, there has been the deforestation at a very larger scale, and only 20 to 30, 25% of forestation is available of the total land covered area that is into Indian origin. The forest fire destroys trees, seeds, and the animals' lives also. So, if there is a deforestation at a very larger scale, simultaneously the another concern or the major observation is the concern of the forest fire. So, at every point of time, it has been seen that once in a year there is a mild fire or a huge fire that has been conducted or that has been occurred in the forest of the Indian origin, and it is destroying the trees also. It is destroying the plants, seeds, and the animal life which is living in our forest area. The pest can also destroy the forest by eating the shoots and spreading the diseases. So various pests or the various mosquitoes, insects that are there in the forest also, they are also spreading, and they are also degrading and reducing our quality and quantity of forest that is into existence by creating a harmful insecticide and pesticides. Bad weather, such as there is no particular concern wherein the storm arises very frequently. There is change in the pattern of rainfall. There is change in the requirement. The seasonal cyclical winds has also been changed, and due to this, what happened? The bad weather has also impacted the forest situation, and accordingly, the shifting cultivation has also been shifted accordingly. So another concern, that is mixing of burnt and the ash in the soil, is also a certain concern wherein the quality and quantity of the cultivative land in the particular forest is also getting degraded day by day. Population and economic growth. Yes, there is a positive impact of the population also, wherein an increased number of population, increased number of people or the households in the Indian economy or the Indian land has also created a certain environmental calamities in Indian origin or Indian economy. Heavy pressure on land. So here at every point of time there is a heavy pressure on land, and the requirement of houses, requirement of people, requirement of land is also quite increasing day by day, and the pressure on land is also created accordingly. Land degradation, habitat destruction, at every point of time it has been seen, and changing the consumption pattern has led to the rising demand for the energy. So earlier there was only one source of energy that was being used, and but now accordingly, as on today, the various research has shown that we have been using various types of energy, and the demand of the energy for either it may be coal energy, petroleum, or the mineral energy, soil energy, wind energy, and different types of energy that is into needed has also been increased, and accordingly the less thrust is given on the use of solar energy also. So in this way, more awareness is needed to be created, and accordingly the international business transactions are also needed to be focused in such a way that the population and economic growth of a particular country or a nation is also taken at a certain position or a certain consideration on the thought process. The final outcome of these are the air pollution, global warming, climate change, depletion of natural resources, water scarcity, and water pollution. All these factors are arising, and the major reason for this particular concern is with respect to the pollution that is into existence with respect to the air situation. Now, the concern of air pollution. The Indian cities are getting polluted, as we have already seen, and we explained in the earlier slide, that is by the polluting of the vehicle and the industrial emissions that is into existence. The road dust due to the vehicles contribute up to the 33% of the air pollution, and in cities like Bangalore, around 50% of the children are suffering from asthma. That is the immersion or the emission of the various carbon dioxides and the polluted of the vehicles that have been done by the two-wheelers and the four-wheelers that are into existence. Another situation, the national capital, that is the Delhi also, we have seen that at a certain point of time, the population level has increased at a certain level that for a few days or few weeks also, the city has been kept as a shutdown position, and all the activities was at a standstill level. So in this way, one of the biggest cause of air pollution in India is from the transportation system. That is the use of the vehicle of the private people and the industrial people. The air pollution in the big cities is rising to such an extent that it is now 2.3 times higher than the amount that is recommended by the WHO, that is World Health Organization. So in this way, the air pollution is also getting increased day by day. Concern of the land pollution, the pressure to modernize the since India's freedom have only increased the rate of deforestation, which has ultimately lead to the land pollution. So land pollution has also increased simultaneously, and accordingly we can see that the pollution of land, that is with respect to the insecticide, pesticide, fertilizers, the soil erosion has already impacted, and the quality of land has also been degraded at every point of time. In March 2009-2010, the issue of uranium poisoning in Punjab came into light, wherein it has caused the fly ash ponds of the thermal power stations, which reportedly lead to birth defects in the children in Faridkot and Batinda districts of Punjab. So in this way, the impact has been seen on the recent big born childs also, and the land pollution is also seen an impact on the people or the masses at large. Now, the disadvantages to the developed countries, the relocating of the pollution industries have from the developed countries to the developing countries have seen that at a several point of time we can see and identify that is how a value of country, a value of depletion, and the quality of soil, quality of resources gets depleted day by day, and accordingly we can see and identify about how the various impacts on the health, various impacts on the natural resources are general life of the public and the people. It has been created and impacted day by day. So disadvantages and the hazardous nature of all these particular types of pollution is seen at every point of time. Exploitation of natural resources of the developing countries has met the global demand cause, which is causing the ecological problems also. So the problems have been seen at the ecological level, and the endosulfan, the use of the various sulfur, nitrogen, oxygen, uranium, and all types of the chemicals in the production, manufacturing, and the land of perspectives is also increasing and decreasing the quality of soil and increasing the amount of pollutants also at the simultaneous place. Raising of environmental issues as a trade barrier or a coercive measure without any genuine reasons by the developed countries has against been the nature of the developing countries. So there is always a clash between the developing countries and the developed countries with respect to the trade barriers that are into existence of the environmental issues. So at every point of time, we need to see that the trade barriers are controlled in an effective way, and the proper environment has been provided wherein the industries can conduct their business activities fluently and effectively. Now, various arguments with respect to the trade and environment is that the liberalization, privatization, and globalization has given a certain strength or a certain position wherein we are simultaneously increasing the quality and standard of living. But on the other hand, what we are doing, we are decreasing the lifestyle, we are decreasing the condition of our nature, we are decreasing the quality of our land, labor, capital, enterprises, forests, pollutants, and so on. So in this way, benefits on one hand is also providing you a certain drawbacks at the other hand also. Trade liberalization has also promoted the environmental degradation and pollution, and hence there is a race to the bottom in the environmental standards. So according to the environmental standards, it is seen that it has not been observed very properly, and always an impact has been seen that it is impacting the general public, it is impacting the animals, it is impacting the people, it is impacting the nature at a larger scale. Opposition of the environment against the products that encourage practices like dolphin hunting, catching tuna, and etc. and so on. So controlling the pollution of the rivers, sea, soil, all the airs and so on. It is needed to be controlled at an every level, and hence the product control, the pricing control, the services control is also needed to be maintained at every point of time, and the trade must be governed in the similar fashion. Positive point, that is the benefits of this particular concern, that is improve the quality of environment rather than promote the degradation. So at every point of time we should see that the quality of our environment has always been increased and improvised so as we can promote the degradation, and all the resources which are of a natural nature are being conserved and preserved very properly. We can encourage the development and use of the eco-friendly products. So you can encourage the different types of peoples and industries at the public at larger scale to use the various eco-friendly products and preserve and control our natural resources that are into existence. So proper awareness can be created in the minds of people, and hence the positive impacts or positive points can be seen at every point of time. Practice and use of appropriate environmental policies can be a solution in which problem solving and pollution and control techniques can be adopted, and accordingly we can use and implement it at a larger scale. So controlling of pollution at every stage or at every point of time can be seen at every situation or at every stage. Now, let's look at the second perspective, that is labor issues in the international business. So what are the various issues with respect to the labor while conducting the international business? 192 million overall unemployed people. So as on today, we can see that is the rate of unemployment in the world economy or the global economy is at the rate of 192 million people are unemployed. Now, in terms of percentage, if we are looking for Middle East or the North Africa stands for the 13.2%, Sub-Sahara African countries stands at the 9.7%, Central and Asian European countries at 9.7%, Latin America and Caribbean countries at the rate 7.7%, developed economies at the rate 6.7%, Southeast Asia and the Pacific region at 6.1%, South Asian countries at the rate 4.7%, and East Asian countries at 3.8%. So this is the rate of unemployment in the different nations or different regions here at this particular point of time you can see. So just we can imagine what are the various labor issues. So what are the various labor issues? First thing is the labor mobility. The movement of people from country to country or one place to another place or area to area to get the jobs is called as a labor mobility. So we can see at every point at this particular point of time there is a lot many of immigration of the different people, and the laborers are moving from one place to another place. So it is creating a certain problem, and it is also creating the immigration issues with respect to the stability in jobs. So there is no proper stability in the job also. The people are, if they are migrating from one place to another place, what happen? Their jobs are also not stable, and due to the migrating situation, the home country and the host country is also having a clash at every point of time. The foreign boom situation, the population comprises of those immigrants who move from one place to another place for either for a temporary level or for a permanent level. So at this particular point of time, the stability of these particular people or the labor is also not either permanent or either stable. So understanding the concept of citizenship is also very difficult, and we cannot take or we cannot judge or to come at a conclusion whether the labor can be treated as a permanent asset or a long-term asset or a short-term asset. The foreign population who are also treated as the guest workers, they are also not stable, and they keep on mobilizing, they keep on moving from one place to another place. Another problem with respect to the labors is with respect to the concern of the child labor. So the child labor below the 16 years of age who are forced to work in production or usually receive till their normal education. So here at this particular point of time, in many of the cities and still as on today in the post-economic era, in the post-development era, we can see that there is a huge amount of child labor that is into existence, and the people are conducting or using the child or abusing the child for conducting the various activities and work which is not been prohibited by law. So child labor is also a certain major problem, and it has forced the various labor to move from the South and the East Asian countries to the various developing or the developing nations for searching the jobs. Another concept or the problem that has been associated with the labor issues is the brain drain. So the bypass of a particular country or the shifting of a country from one position to another position, one level to another level, the increase in the competition level at every point of time has brought into a certain situation when skilled workers and semi-skilled workers are getting a certain conflict situation, and there is a proper brain drain situation that can be seen and observed. So the growth of outsourcing and the movement of highly educated technology has made a certain skilled employee jobless, and the research scientists at a certain level have shifted their jobs to the robotic situation also. So the brain drain is also seen at a very higher level. The guest workers, people who go to foreign country legally to perform the certain types of job, are called as an guest workers. So there is always a major shift or the migration between the guest workers of the international level also. So here, for example, you can see in United Arab Emirates, that is in Dubai and Saudi countries, major people or major laborers you will find from the Kerala and South India. So in this way, what happened? These are called as the guest workers who, for a very specific time duration or shorter duration, they come to the certain place, they come to relocate themselves, and accordingly, they are getting or employing for getting a job. Same situation in the Maharashtra, what we have seen during a particular situation, there were many migrants of people who are into existence, and people from Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, Jharkhand, and so on, they have came and they have migrated for their jobs or the labor work in the Maharashtra region. So in this way, the laborers also migrating from one place to another place, and in terms of the international business level, they are called as an guest workers. Consideration in the employee policies. So the employee policies with respect to the government, with respect to the framework of policies, with respect to the labor laws that are in existence, is also not quite supportive, and no stringent action is been taken against the people. So social status of the labor is also not quite good, and always a blue collar people is always treated as a blue collar, and no equal treatment with respect to the blue collar and white collar job is given for them. So there is always a partial integration between the people who are working at the shop floor level and at the middle or the low level management level. Next let's come with the perspective of digitalization. So what is the concept of digitalization? Wherein at a certain point of time, wherein if you are converting or moving from a traditional approach to a technological approach, then this particular concern is called as a digitalization technology. So creating value at the new frontier of the business world, creating value in processes that execute a vision of customer experiences, and building foundation capability that supports the entire structure. So in this way, what happened? We should see that they should go beyond the simply automating an existing process and providing a good platform for the customers for choosing the right product at the right place is the concept of digitalization. Now, as per the various survey that has been done by the McKinsey Global Institute, you can see at this particular point of time, the use of mobile internet is at 11%, automation of knowledge work is at 7%, IoT, that is Internet of Things, is at 6.5%, the cloud technology is again at 6%, the advanced robotics is at 4.5%, automation and near autonomous vehicle is at mere 2%. Next generation genomics is at 1.8%. 3D printing is at 1%, and so on. So various technology that have been used are at a different level, and accordingly, the role of digitalization can be seen. The role of digitalization in terms of various components is it is with respect to the customer experience, the product and service innovation, the distribution in the market and sales, the digital fulfillment, the rank optimization, and the enhanced corporate control. So in this way, the circle or the journey of the digitalization has taken place, and at every point of time it has been benefited or moving from one place to another place, and accordingly the benefit is given to ultimately to the consumer. So every contributor of a particular process of international business has to look that or has to see that proper digitalization is into picture and proper mode and use of technology that has been undertaken at various points of time. Various survey that has been undertaken has shown that there is either a industrial development or that there is a retail or the rural development, and simultaneously we have to see that the proper industrial policy of 4.0 is giving a certain thrust or a certain benefit, wherein each and every industry is getting benefited at every point of time, and the proper balanced growth of development is seen at every level. Now here in this particular chart or diagram, you can see why the particular digitalization is utmost important. So the countries which are having below average, the countries which are at the average level, and the countries which are above average level in terms of the emerging leaders and the established leaders, we can see and find out what is the mode or the percentage of digitalization that they are using. So the DQ, that is digital quotient score of the established leaders or the developed countries is at the rate 83%, whereas the developing countries is at the rate 43%, and the least developed or the low developed countries is below 0% or maximum up to minus 33%. So in this way, the digitalization is also been at a different level and a different position. Digitalization had transformed and it has brought various new trends in the economics perspective or economics concern also, and at every physical level, that is at the emerging level, at the innovative level, at the startup level, the early adopter level, the advanced incubement level, the mainstream level, and the laggard level. At every point of time, there is a certain transformation of the digital concern, and the use of various technologies, tools, and Internet of Things is onto applicability at every point of time. With respect to the application of digitalization, we can have either a horizontal change or we have a vertical chain that is into existence. The participants of the horizontal chain are the network of supplies, the cooperative partners, the concept of planning, purchasing, manufacturing, logistics, and the network of customers. And all these particular activities have been conducted or controlled by the horizontal value chain networking. The vertical value chain, in terms of the vertical value chain, we have a certain focus with respect to the company and the specific department that are into existence. The first department, that is the R&D, that is research and development. Second is the planning. Then comes the purchasing, manufacturing, and logistics at the same level. And then follows the services, IT, and finance, tax, and legal departments into existence. So in this way, there is a different perspective or position with respect to the horizontal value chain and the vertical value chain that is into existence. Advantages or disadvantages, we can see that it can always save a cost for you. It can always save or bring in or reduce the control of cybercrime that is into existence. The decision making becomes very simpler and automatically the data has been collected and the cost driver or the causes of risk have been undertaken at every point of time. So in this way, we can see that there are various advantages and disadvantages with respect to the digitalization that is into existence. Okay, now we have completed with the second unit, second subtopic. Now coming with the next topic, that is the impact of COVID-19 on international business. So what is the impact of COVID-19, that is coronavirus or this particular pandemic on the international business? So here first we need to understand what is the concept of COVID or coronavirus, that is COVID-19 timeline. So the timeline dates back to the 2019, that is the first patient developed symptoms of Wuhan coronavirus, and it was observed or identified in December 8. On December 31, China alerts WHO about several pneumonia cases, and it was on December 31, 2019. On January 1, Wuhan's wholesale seafood market was being shut down, and it was being seen, or it was observed, that most of the people have started to getting infected and suffering from the COVID-19 virus. On January 7, identification of the new virus was being found, and this particular virus was named as COVID-19. January 11, the first death in China was been recorded on January 1st, January 11 of 2020, and the first China death was been recorded. January 13, 2020, first case outside the China was reported, and it was in the country of Thailand. On January 23, Wuhan placed under the quarantine, and the rail and air services was been suspended from January 2023. January 29, 2020, debt of the toll column rises to 1,32,600 from new cases that was been reported. So in this way, from January 29 onwards, the reported has come forward, and from February 5, WHO confirms the virus as COVID-19, and it was been declared as pandemic situation at this particular point of time. So in this way, the various journey or the various cycle you can see at this particular point of time. Furthermore, February 26 February, National Institute of Health began the first clinical trial in the US for the potential COVID-19 treatment. February 29, the FDA took steps to expand the novel coronavirus testing to the hospital clinical microbiology laboratory. And on 11th March, WHO declares COVID-19 as a pandemic, which has been declared across the globe, wherein more like 10 lakh of cases and 4,000 deaths in 114 countries was been seen on 11th March. 2nd April confirmed the cases of COVID-19, wherein 1 million, that is worldwide cases, was been reported, and accordingly the cases started to develop day by day. From 10th April, the global death due to COVID-19 has reached at a certain position, and the number of cases has also increased from 1 lakh to 10 lakh, and it has been increased to 25 lakhs onwards. So in this way, you can see this particular curve or the line, wherein from the duration from April to October, how the particular people or the number of people started getting infected, and from July to October onwards, how the people are starting to getting infected. So in this way, the various cycle of COVID-19 can be seen at every point of time. Now, the various infections timeline that you can see at this particular point of time, that is in number of days. For a period of 1 day to 14 days, we can see you have mild fever from day 1 to day 7. You have sore throat infection from day 1 to day 8. You have stuffy or congested nose from day 1 to day 10. You have sneezing in your nose from day 1 to day 7, and you have cough situation from day 1 to day 13. So in this way, at different position, at different level, the coronavirus symptoms or impacts, or the impact on the changes on your health or the life cycle can be changed, can be seen accordingly. Again, this particular cycle shows you about how the development of coronavirus was being seen, and accordingly how it has been impacted. Now, the various symptoms of coronavirus or the COVID-19 diseases on people that has been seen. First thing, that is the shortness of breath. Second is the high level of fever. Third is the vomiting in some of the few cases. Fourth is the new concept or the symptoms such as pneumonia situation, which has been also been seen. Next is the severe coughing or the low level of coughing. And lastly, in some cases, it has been identified that people have suffered from diarrhea also. So in this way, there are the various symptoms wherein you can identify, and you can see that either it may be through your nose, it may be through your eyes, it may be through your ears, it may be through your lungs, or any point of time. And the symptoms are the effect on your breathness, on your fever, on your pneumonia, on your vomiting, coughing, sneezing, and all these particular factors can be seen. Prevention that has been provided by the World Health Organization is you have to continuously and frequently wash your hands with the soap and the sanitizer for at least 20 seconds. You have to avoid the close contact with the 6 people, and you have to maintain 2 meters of distance with each and every people. Do not touch your eyes or nose with the hands frequently, and do not eat the raw food, which is thorough. Eat only those food which is properly cooked and which is properly washed. So avoid contact with the various animals and animal products accordingly. So in this way, we have to stay. We have to prevent. Now, what you have to do in order to do not get infected, you have to always stay indoors. That is, you have to stay at your home. You have to avoid the public contacts or roaming around the general public. You have to cover your nose and mouth while sneezing. You have to always cover your mask with a surgical mask or a face mask, and keep the objects and always your floor and all your utensils and public places at a cleaning position. Various advices with respect to your traveling: avoid traveling to the affected areas unless it is very necessary. Make sure you all have your necessary vaccination and travel medications with you. Seek advices from your healthcare provider or your respective doctors if you have suffer from any symptoms. Do not travel if you have any fever and cough like situations, and if you become sick while traveling, seek medical care immediately and call the respective government toll-free number to control or the spread of coronavirus diseases accordingly. Now, the terms of the cases that has been affected. So, top 15 most affected economies in terms of COVID-19 as per the data that has been provided by United Nations. The first graph the first you can see, it is in terms of the $billion, that is European economy. It has been affected or impacted by $15,597 billion. United States 5,779. Japan, that is 5178. Republic of Korea 3816. Vietnam 2296. Singapore 2165. UK 1917. Mexico 1389. Switzerland 1087. Malaysia 1077, India 1050, Thailand 733, Canada 660, Turkey 425, Indonesia 312. So in this way, you can see the number of impact on the COVID-19 has been seen as in terms of USD, that is $1 million, that is into existence. Historically, travel now impact on travel and tourism. You can see at this particular point of time, that is Chinese New Year, that is 415 people has impacted the traveling concern. The Asian economy or the Asian concern with respect to the India and Southeast Asia, it is 150 millions of people. US as a particular nation, 115 millions of people. Thailand, 55 millions of people. Uruguay or Portuguese, 21 people, and Hong Kong, 2.5 millions of people. So in this way, different people have got infected and impacted. Uncertain trade, the trade impact has been also been seen on the gems and jewelry sector, traveling industry, global domestic trade show off, US delay in the carpet exports and imports, steel industry, auto industry, and allied industries, and so on. And now the impact, negative impact on the various coronavirus industry on the technology. TV has impacted by minus 4.5%. Video game consoles at the rate minus 10.1%. Smartphone industry has impacted by minus 10.4%. Smart speakers as the headphones or the speakers has been impacted at the minus 12.1%. The notebook, tablet, laptop, desktop has been impacted at the minus 12.3%. And smart watches, digital watches, or the various smartphone devices has been impacted at minus 16%. So in this way, impact on technology can be seen at this particular point of time. Now, impact with respect to the various association or the organization, that is international air passenger traffic, has been impacted at minus 60%. The airport revenues has reduced to minus 56.7%. The airline revenue, that is per kilometer, has reduced by minus 54.7%. The international tourism receipts has been reduced by US dollar 1170 billion. The global merchandise trade value has decreased by minus 32%. And lastly, overall, the global economy of tourism, hospitality, and aviation industry has been impacted or contracted by 5.2 minus 5.2%. There is impact on the pharma industry also. There is impact on the travel and tourism industry, and accordingly you can see that the various flights has also been cancelled, and due to this concern, the travel, tourism, flights, airline, travel industry, tourism industry, pharma industry, each and every industry it has got impacted by the what place or at what place or at what position the impact of economy can be recovered. So after the year 2024, it will be back to the normal position, and the GDP of the India, GDP of the world economy, with respect to the green line, orange line, and the blue line, you can see at this particular point of time. And to bring back everything at the normal stage, as per the Bloomberg statistics, it has been assumed, it has been seen that by 2024 January, everything will be at a normal stage, and the impact of COVID-19 will be for at least 2 to 3 years down the line. So for around 2021, 22, and 23, the impact of COVID-19 can be seen, and it will impact all the economies at the larger scale or at the greater scale. So in this way, we can see the impact of the positive and negative impact of the COVID-19 on this particular situation and how a crisis has been adopted or emerged on the Indian economy or on the global economy at a larger scale. So that's all for the today's lecture. If you have any difficulty at this particular stage, you can please unmute yourself and ask me the questions, or you can drop your questions in the chat box respectively. Today, in this particular lecture, we have seen the impact of the COVID-19 on the international trade, global trade, and on the Indian economy. Then, furthermore, in the initial introduction, we have seen or we have understood with respect to the environmental issues of the Indian economy and the global international business. Then, furthermore, we have seen the impact on the position of the labor in the international economic situation and the labor crisis that was into existence. Then furthermore, we have seen the concept of digitalization, that is how digitalization have come forward and benefited the global economy and world economy come closer and control all the business transactions at the simultaneous level. So in this way, we conclude with this particular today's lecture. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you.